Hey boys and girls, everybody that's watching, welcome back to another true mission story on a Wednesday night. Tonight I have got an amazing story from you. Comes from the land of Cuba. This story is called The Man in the White Suit. Clear my throat before we begin. See, the Pentecostal believers in Cuba daily experience miracles. They really do. The Assemblies of God churches in Cuba are united and they are enthusiastic about God. People are healed, resources are miraculously provided for, and lives are changed. Excuse me. Perhaps the most unusual miracle happened to a small church in Nueva Gerona on the island of Youth called Isla de la Juventud, excuse me, in the local language. The island of Youth is the second largest Cuban island and lies below the northwest tip of Cuba. The people on the island of Youth live very simple lives. Many of them make a living from grapefruit farming or from cutting lumber in pine forests. But frequent hurricanes often destroy much of the harvest. In the past, Cuba was mostly an atheistic land, guys. That meant that most of the people in Cuba didn't believe in any God at all. In fact, they believed there was no God. Excuse me. Only a very small percentage of the people followed any kind of Christian religion. And several years ago now, the small church in the city of Nueva Gerona was really struggling. Fewer and fewer people were attending the services. And finally it reached the point where state officials told them that they had to close the church down. So they did. The people left and the church doors were locked and barricaded. And in Cuba, guys, once a church closes, it is very, very hard to have it reopened again. 7 years passed and the building remained not being used. Excuse me. Then a young pastor decided that he wanted to reopen that church. So he went to the authorities to ask permission. He expected that his request would be denied, but he decided to try anyway. And to his surprise, he discovered that no documents were on record to indicate that any legal action had ever been taken to close the church. That was a very good sign, so the young pastor decided to move ahead with his plan. His next step was to go to the office that handled the electricity for the building. He explained to the woman there that the church would be starting services again, and that he had come to pay any back payments that were due. Check this out. The woman opened her record book and said, "Oh, you're a few days late this month, aren't you?" The pastor asked her, "What do you mean?" She said, "Well, the man in the white suit who comes every month and pays your bill is always on time. He has never missed a payment in 7 years." The young pastor wondered who could have paid the bill so faithfully for all these years. He asked the former pastor, who was now the superintendent of the area, if he knew who the man in the white suit was. The superintendent didn't have any idea. So the young pastor asked the former members of the church, but no one had any idea who the man in the white suit could be. The young pastor wondered, could it have been an angel? Because there was no record of the church being officially closed and all the bills were paid on the church, the young pastor was able to immediately clean up the church and start holding church services. Guys, the Assemblies of God churches make up the largest Christian congregation in Cuba. The churches are growing and helping to lead the spiritual movement in Cuba. And BGMC, your giving, has been there, providing missionaries with supplies and helping them to reach the lost. Guys, your giving, your prayers, has helped the people of Cuba go from people who didn't believe there was any God to people that now know and love God. But there's still people there that don't. And again, that's why it's so important that you pray. Pray for our missionaries. Pray for the people in other countries. They need to know God. Give any change that you can. Come up with fundraising ideas. Give so that our missionaries can bring the love of Jesus to the people in the countries. And go. If God calls you and says, I want you to be a missionary, trust Him. Trust Him no matter how scary it is, because it'll be the best decision you can ever make, is to trust God. But that'll wrap it up tonight for another True Mission Story here at True Mission Story Central. I look forward to seeing you next Wednesday with another amazing, miraculous story of what God is doing in our world. I'll see you later. Have a great week. Be blessed.